Stations of the Cross make the whole church look different, don't they? I was just so happy with them. They're so beautiful. When you get a chance, you have to go and look at each one. The details on them are so wonderful. And in the bright sun, which we had a lot of sun this week, it's amazing how the colors in the windows seem to be the same as the colors in the stations. It's almost like we designed it that way. I'm just thrilled. And now when you pray the stations, you can look at them and you get a better picture of what was actually happening. So I think they'll be very inspiring and very helpful to us. Back at the 8th station where Jesus meets the women, you notice that the one woman is wearing a green dress and there's a tear in it. And my sister was pointing out how that probably is just depicting by the artist that the women were poor and they were crying about Jesus being crucified. There's so much meaning in all of them. I'm so thrilled. And I found out yesterday that I knew they were from a church in Philadelphia, but I found out that the name of the church was Mother of Sorrows. And I was thrilled because it seems to me that I pray to the Blessed Mother all the time for good things here at St. Pat's. And when something good happens like this, it's always connected to the Blessed Mother somehow. So it's great. And then we have the ladders in the sanctuary. I was thinking of climbing up there and preaching from there, but I thought, no, I'd be on the ground in 2 seconds. But it reminds me of Jacob's ladder in the Old Testament where the angels of God were ascending and descending up and down Jacob's ladder. So the angels are probably running up on them down now as we speak. But and notice too, you never believe it, but these walls look gray on the side, don't they? It's the same exact paint is painted behind the crucifix. The same paint. And I'm thrilled because that's what they're all going to look like when we get finished with the lighting, because that's this LED lights that are daylight, they call it, and they're way too bright. These are the old incandescent lights in the corners shining on the wall. So we're going to have lights that are LED, but they're going to have that kind of color on the rest of the church. So, and then the back wall, that's going to remain a mystery for about a month or two. We've got some great plans for that too. So, but it's coming along. The church is always growing and developing, and here at St. Pat's, we see that very visibly before us. Thanks for all your support. Third Sunday of Advent, joyful Sunday, Gaudete Sunday. Rejoice, it says, rejoice again. And we're rejoicing because we're so close to celebrating the birthday of our Savior, and it is a time to rejoice. There's a penitential aspect to Advent because we're preparing our souls, hopefully asking God's forgiveness of our sinfulness, but we're asking him to, that we're just filled with an excitement. In the gospel, the people were filled with expectation, it says. John the Baptist was letting them know that the Savior was now here in their midst. They wanted to know if it was him, and of course he says, no, it's not me, but he's here. And they were filled with expectation and filled with joy. But then their question is, what should we do? What should we do? The soldiers and the tax collectors and everybody he was talking to, if the Savior's coming, what should we do? And they were surprised by the answer. If you have 2 coats in your closet and you know somebody that doesn't have one, give one of them to them. If you have food in your pantry and you know people who are hungry, give some food to them. If you have a job like the tax collectors, don't cheat anyone. Be kind and be honest. Be kind and honest in all your doings. In other words, imitate the Savior. That's what we're called to do, is imitate the Savior. So in Advent, we look into our hearts and say, are we prepared to imitate the Savior? We look at all that Jesus did and all that he stood for, and we ask him to help us to do the same thing. The world will become more peaceful. It will become more generous. It will become more understanding and more honest if you and I are individually. The more individuals become that way, the more the world becomes that way. So it's a great call for all of us. But it is a time for joy. I got a few stories. I think I've told them to you before. about the two brothers who, a week before Christmas, they went to stay overnight at their grandparents' house. And before bed, they were kneeling down to pray. And the one brother was shouting real loud, "Dear God, I want a sled, I want a basketball, I want a computer." And his brother said, "Why are you shouting? God isn't deaf." And he said, "I know, but Grandma is." And then there's the little boy that family got together and they were singing Christmas carols. And they stopped for a moment, and one of the aunts who was there was a professional singer. And he said to her, "What were you singing?" And she said, "Alto." And she said, "Oh, we were all singing Joy to the World." And there's the one I like the best is where the teacher a couple days after Christmas vacations asked her 21 students in the second grade to bring a gift for Jesus. And she said, "And bring it in a bag so that nobody can see it until Jesus sees it." And so they all gathered there, and one by one, they put their gifts in the manger scene. And of course, there was a truck and a car, and there was a can of food, and there was candy bars and diapers and all kinds of things that they brought. But one little boy had a 7 or 8 inch tall statue of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and he set that right next to the manger. And the teacher said, "Why did you put that there?" And he said, "I want him to see what he's going to look like when he grows up." And I thought, out of the mouths of babes, there's some real wisdom there. You know, that's what he would look up. He would come to be a strong and wonderful man, young man who would have a heart, the divine heart of God, to love his people. That's the image of the Sacred Heart. And so today it's that same divine heart that loves us. And what does he look like today? Looks like us. The church is Jesus Christ. The church wants us to have hearts like the heart of Christ. And so let us all pray that we can strive to be that way so that the world can become what the Savior called it to become. God bless you.